You've often heard people say, grow your own personal brand, focus on one platform only, learn to write, learn to film, be out there. You need a personal brand, and if you don't have one, you're missing out. I've heard that so often, and yet what I've seen is so many content creators struggling with their first platform, giving up because it's hard, it's overwhelming, it's difficult, it's complicated. You need to learn a lot. I understand all of that. I've grown organically for many years. I've created content for different platforms, for different brands for many years, so I know what I'm talking about. Over the time, there are certain patterns that arise that I've observed, and those patterns I packaged for you in the Fruit Forest framework. There are 3 components to this framework because, those 3 parts I will explain in the following video now. And those are part number 1, why should we grow the fruit forest in the first place? The 2-sided content tree between creation and discovery, and the 3 different plants you can grow in your fruit forest. So why should we actually grow the fruit forest? There's so much chatter about personal brands today. Everybody's advising you to create content and to start growing on one platform. As we covered in the last video, why you should grow your personal media company. I link that below. You also find it on my channels, on my socials. It is more important than ever to create more content across more platforms. We all agree that there's so much opportunity in growing your personal brand. I think that's a given. There's so much chatter about it. There's so much benefits that come from it. So by creating more content across multiple platforms, you will just get results a lot faster. I aim to change how you view content creation. That's my attempt in this video. That's why I'm packaging it up in a few new illustrations with the fruit forest to shift your thinking about it. Because what I've observed is that we sometimes need to detach ourselves from the actual subject and try to understand it in the illustration and then bring it back in over to that subject. Why fruit forest? This is where my background comes in. I've a bachelor's degree in forestry and a master's degree in agriculture. That's why I went with the fruit forest, because it comes natural to talk for me to talk about plants and trees and how they grow and develop. So that's what I got. First of all, we need to talk about the 5 stages of discovery and the harvest season. The 5 seasons of discovery stands for the process people can interact with your brand, and they will go over the seasons to discover them all. There is the content tree itself. I'll try something new with painting it. Then we have the buds. Oh, now we switched. This one. The buds are where the blossoms are coming out of. So then next we have the blossoms. Then we have the fruit itself. So here's my attempt to draw the apple. And then at the end, we have little seeds. So these are all connected because they're all growing over certain times and we'll touch on them separately. The core of it is the tree, which we'll cover in depth later on. But how are they connected? At the base, none of it nothing happens if you don't start planting trees, because the start of it, the entry point, is always the tree. Your content. That's, in essence, the start of it. They can then start to have contact with you, which that's where we come from the tree to the bud. They will are getting aware of you. And then the next step is they will have interest in you. That's when they start to like you. That's why we have the first level done. They like us if they start to blossom with our ideas. Then the next one is consideration, because they actually trust you. So we have here, they know you, they like you, and they trust you. That's pretty good. Then from the apple to the seed, they are going to be loyal to us. And that means they will share your ideas. Because if you notice in nature, if you have a fruit tree, the apple falls down, there are more apple trees coming. So in essence, this circle here is going to get your personal brand seen by many others and spread for you. So in the end, all you need to do is start publishing content. Now there is one more thing to this picture that I didn't say yet, and that's the harvest season. Now we also need to talk about the harvest, because when fruit are ripe, they want to be harvested, or they rot. That's the two ways it goes. So where you need to step up is, in other words, this is where people are ready to buy from you. This is right here at the end of the fruit stage. So here, at this point, you have either the basket full of apples, or you have a pile of apples that goes bad. Those are the two options it can go. And so you need to focus on helping people more. So it is not about selling. It is about helping them, because this is the only option that's left for them to grow. Otherwise, they're rot, because they need more information to make it click. So it's not about selling anything. It's about helping them. At this stage of the fruit season, they're needing your help to get to the next stage. They have studied your content. They have implemented what you said. They know what they need to do. They did act. But they're stuck on the last detail. They can't see it. Now that we've covered the purpose of the fruit tree a bit, and this is the of the fruit forest, this is essentially what we're building, is content that actually leads to an ever-feeding cycle and is leading us to have people ready to be harvested, ready to actually buy from us, ready for them to actually listen to us. So now that we have covered the fruit forest idea a bit more, it's actually the question, like, how do you actually grow your person, like the fruit forest? And this is where the next stage comes in. Quick page change. This is the content tree stage. So here we have 2 trees that will cover. They are the same tree. The only difference being that it's the front and the back of that tree, because there are 2 different people looking at the same tree. So first, let's start creating content, this tree, and then we'll get into the discovery side of it, of the other tree. So first, how do we actually get to a tree? That's simple. We need an idea. So this is the idea that actually is the seed to start growing the tree. That's fairly straightforward. I'm not going in depth on the ideation part, because all the seed stuff would just like bloat up that video here. There will be a video coming, so you can subscribe and then you'll see it later. First, for now, it's good enough that you need to capture the ideas, the seeds, by either writing or talking, which is filming or recording. That means we have written content for X linked in your newsletter, and we have talking content for videos and podcasts. That's essentially the only two ways content can be consumed. The design stage of it is actually just making writing and talking visually more appealing. It's not a necessity for content. So there's an easy way to get going. You create the long content pieces first. You create one video and one article. Those two pieces can turn into everything else. We just need to put them in different wrappings. So that means we have in the bottom here, the root, or at the core of the tree here, let me get a different color. We have here one long form video and one article. Those now branch out. We can turn them into different things. Here, like that. Because the tree has different branches. This is, let me try this pen to like make it write smaller. So that means we have long form text. We have long form text is newsletter, blog post, X post, LinkedIn post, Facebook post. Medium form, meaning threads or carousel posts. This is where the design part comes in. It's not so much work. And then we have short posts. That's short tweets or status updates. Or status posts on Facebook, I think. Then we have the video side of things, and this is where we have a long video. This is for like YouTube, kind of like YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, blog post. Then we have shorts, which is shorts, reels, TikToks, Facebook, X. They all work there too. And then we have here a bonus one, which is the audio, which is for podcasts. So by creating 1 and 2 pieces of content, we actually end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different formats. That's the power of the content tree, because you can turn them easily into the different formats. Like that work across multiple platforms. The details of that I'll cover in a video in the future, because it's, again, so much depth to it, and we're already pretty long in this video. So I'll try to just skim over it now. Now that we have created content, we need to post it. So this is where, like, on the outside, we'll get over into the different platforms. So we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have X, we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have Spotify, like so many more. They can be all spread over those. And this is what the content tree will grow and look like. And the more often you do that, the more trees you have in your fruit garden or in your fruit forest. That's the easy part. Now we'll cover the right side with the content tree from the leaves to the roots. So as you see here we'll work our way up, and here we need to work our way down, because people don't start with usually with the newsletter. So here are 5 stages to this content tree, and that's important to cover because we have the discovery, we have the connection, we have the rented relationships, and then we have owned relationships and paid relationships. So these 5 discovery mechanisms or discovery stages exist. So we have platforms that, for the whole purpose of that platform is to get discovered. This is TikTok for me, as an example. Mostly short form content, like short form content heavy sites go in the top here. Also on YouTube, YouTube Shorts are discovery content. They're not connection content. This is the next stage where we have here the medium form mostly, where connections are being built. Like you can start to interact, and the difference between discovery and connection is that you have platforms that allow you to have direct messages, that allow you to go in deeper conversations. That's where YouTube is a bit tricky because it doesn't fit that idea. You can comment, but it's still building connections. It's reaching out to people. It's connecting with people. Then we have the relationship platforms, which is YouTube and podcasts for the most part, because the rented relationships platforms is where you build deeper relationships. That means you need to have an opportunity to spend more time with the people. People don't build relationships with 10-second videos. They don't. They don't build relationships with one tweet. You need to build 1,000 tweets to get the relationships going. And then most of the time you have a connection before then with DMs. That's how X works. Rented relationships platforms means where you actually take people and you could take them to a paid relationship from there. So that's where like there is a mix between the connecting and the rented relationships. But the essence is that it's still rented audience. Then we move to the owned relationships. Here are only 2 pretty much existing. There are 3 technically. Owned relationships means that you have the agreement that that person can come into contact with you. So that means email, phone number, or address. Address is fairly protected today. We don't really share that so easily. Phone number is not that common to share easily either. It's easier than the address, but then you have emails. And that's where the newsletter here is the most important part to this, because you own the contact. You own the agreement that you can contact the person. And then you have paid relationships, which that's where you have people that are so committed to you that they actually bought something from you and spend money with you. Because spending money is, at least in our context of today, is the most commitment we give someone. We give them time and money, and if we do that here, we actually end up getting both. So, what's the biggest difference here? Why did I write some of it down here and some of it up here? You might have guessed it, but up here, we're in the foliage, we're by the leaves. A tree loses leaves every year. So, they're not here to stay. This here is rented. It's not yours. The stem, however, and the roots, they're owned. You have control over what happens in the stem because that's yours to keep. So focus on the stem. That's why we started here on the left with the stem, because the stem is the important part. Here, we need to start bringing them in through the leaves. They start seeing the blossoms. They start seeing the fruit and all that. But what stays is the stem. So focus on that. So far, we've only talked about trees. But in reality, the fruit forest has more than just trees. So this is where we'll go next. So the next chapter is the different plants of a fruit forest. In total, we have 3 different plant types in your fruit forest, and they all play different roles. In them, there's also a few separations, but let's go. So we have the vegetable plants. So the plants that are just around for a season. Then we have the fruit bushes. And lastly, we have the fruit trees. So with that said, let's start with the vegetable plants. The vegetable plants are only seasonal, and there are two different plants that we can talk about. It is beans. So that's the bean shoot here. And tomatoes. What's the difference? The beans are viral ideas that grow fast and die fast as well. They can feed you, but won't be lasting. The tomatoes are short form content that gets attention, looks good, but is just nice and a nice extra, not going to fill you up. So in the combination, you can run a business with these two. Technically, it's possible. Practically, it's not really long term. That's how most businesses right now are building, with just vegetables. So here's vegetables. So the next one is our bushes. So we have two bushes, one bush and another bush. The one bush is blueberries. And the other one is blackberries. I don't know if you have been around blackberries, but they have one really important difference. They're rooting so strong that they will feed you for a while. Once they're there, they're hard to get rid of. It's just part of the ecosystem. They show up, they're growing, they're strong. They're thorny a bit and they're hard to but they feed you pretty consistently. You can harvest quite a bit. The blueberry bush instead is like the medium content form content that is still going viral but not going to feed you as long. So here is like more sensation, and the blackberry bush is actually the medium form content that is also authority ideas. So you have, as you see with the both sides, tomatoes and blueberries are more the short form content ideas that lead up to the viral ideas, and they should lead you to like people to come in, because like who doesn't want to put tomatoes and blueberries, but they're not making people stick around probably. So then we have two more trees to cover, and those trees are quite interesting because we have the apple tree and the cherry tree. So both have red fruit. The difference being that the apple tree are those authority long form ideas that will feed your evergreen content. Like this is the core of your business. The cherry trees is like the cherry on top. Special authority content that you put a lot of effort in. You're not going to grow a lot of cherry trees. They're just the highlight in your whole fruit forest. So in essence, you have quick viral ideas, you have short form ideas, you have medium form ideas, you have medium form ideas that are still like more leaning towards the trees, and then you have authority pieces that really share in-depth knowledge, and then you have cherry trees. This video for my channel is a cherry tree video because I'm putting a lot of effort into it. It's also a longer piece. It takes a lot more meat to get it done. And so one plant on its own is not a good diet. You need a mix and match. This is where you should start planting a mix of plants. Like mix and match. Grow different like content ideas. That's where we are getting back to the point with the personal media company. If you want to help implementing those ideas in your personal brand, you can fill out the contact form or message me on the platforms, whatever you like. Message me apples, because then I know you came from this video and that you want to grow apple trees next. If you want to like get onto starting for your own, just remember what I said about the content tree. Start with long form content that is starting your trees. Like, start with the apples and cherry trees. Then take those ideas, seed them into medium form content that is the blueberries and the blackberries. And then you can also like try and shoot for vegetables, because vegetables are going to feed you quicker than the apple tree, but the apple tree will feed you longer. And that's, I think, the essence of this fruit forest framework, is to grow your fruit forest that feeds you for a long time, that feeds you in many different ways, and feeds you a lot of different platforms. And that's how you can structure those ideas. And I'm sure I'll cover all of these steps more and more in depth. If you have any questions, write them below, because you can actually do this on your own, and you can figure it out. And it's not as hard because there's so much overlap between the content formats. It's just different ways, different lengths, different styles. If you like that video, you might want to stick around for this one here, where I explain my challenge of growing my personal brand like a personal media company. Have fun with that one.